Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm NFX and today we're back at Goodwood Kartways for our last race of the season. Now, before we get to that, let's take a recap of everything that's happened so far. I hope you enjoyed the montage that I put together. I thought it'd be a great way to recap the whole year in a couple of seconds. So if you liked it, please give me like a thumbs up. Let me know how I did. But let's get right into the video. So you can see now I am qualifying. And since today is the finals, the layout is a little bit different. Everyone gets one practice, one qualifying, one sprint race, and one final race. Now the qualifying will determine where you start in the sprint race, and then the sprint race will determine where you start in the final race. So all I'm hoping here is for a midfield placement. This kart wasn't the best and it wasn't the slowest, so I'm just hoping to be around the P4, P5 area. And out of 3 laps, my first lap, which is this one that you're seeing here, was my fastest. So as I cross the line here, I'm able to secure P5 in the sprint race. Now that qualifying is over, we're going to move into our sprint race. And as you can see, the track conditions has changed dramatically. As always, same rule applies, no passing into turn 1. Now going into the corner, everyone is just struggling so much for grip. 3 of us actually going wide, and me scared that P6 is going to get lots more traction than I am into this 4th corner here. And it's in this corner, everyone's going out on the outside just to get as much traction as possible. As you can see, P4 is just struggling to grab some, and you can see he actually loses it and slips into me, blocking me off, and P6 passing me out on the inside. Luckily, I was able to grab enough traction not only to pass P6, but also to get another position from someone that spun. Down into this corner, I'm just getting bullied back and forth, losing position and gaining position all at the same time. I'm doing the same thing, taking the outside line into the second last corner, and as you can see, I'm getting a lot more traction, and I can feel it even though I'm going into these lines a lot wider than the person in P3. In turn 1, I slip again, sliding super wide, but able to come back on track and go wheel to wheel with a person in P3 now. And as you can see, I go a little wide onto the grass, slipping a little, scared that I'm going to run in, but taking the wide line into turn number 4. Seeing if there's an opportunity to maybe go on the outside just to see if I can get past. I'm blocked off yet again. I felt like that was a little bit of a brake check, but I'm sure he was sliding. Down into turn number 6 here, still taking the outside line, seeing if there's any traction. I'm noticing he's just getting away, so I try to do a little bit more of an aggressive move, but just locking up my steering wheel completely, and I think P3 also did the same. But what I notice here is that I'm getting a way better traction into this last corner, so I take the wider line and try to build some little human DRS into the first corner here. Trying to keep it in between the lines this time instead of going off. I try to go on the inside and just push my way just slightly through. I do a deep dive, also locking up my tires, and he's able to do the switchback on me. At this point, I'm pretty frustrated that I'm just losing so much traction as he slips out, and I'm able to just avoid it, and you can see me correcting and just drifting out into the outside there. So luckily I was able to gain the position without actually having to be too aggressive or actually touching, so that was good for me. And as you can see here, I just want to take it home. This is a very short race, and it's better to be consistent and not try to push people off and try to, maybe slip, than it is to just be safe in this case and secure position for the final race. So I'm in a nice P3 position right now, and I think behind me there's a little bit of a gap, so I'm not too worried that someone's going to overtake. So right now my focus is to drive it home and make sure that I start P3 in the final race. So just skipping through to the final corner of the race, nothing really happened, so luckily able to secure P3 for the final race. When I say it, I mean it. On this day, we experienced all types of weather condition, whether it be sunshine, cloud, winds, rain, and even hail. But luckily, I wasn't on track for the hail, so whoever was on track for the hail, I'm very sorry for you. But as you can see here, I'm starting P3 in the final race here. It has got even more wet. There was even more rainfall happening, and it was so funny. Before this race, at least 15 minutes before, it was just very clear and just cloudy really. And so when we got to the race, the rain just came back, and as you can see, the rain came even harder this time. This track is completely shiny, so it posed a little bit of a new challenge for us as drivers, because I personally haven't raced in the rain this whole season. But since this is a finals race, they actually opened a brand new part of the track that you'll see just in a minute here. So into the final corner and down the straight, they actually opened the chicane area, and as you can visibly see, the pavement here is completely different to the pavement that we're used to driving. And what I find really unique too is that the traction that you get there is also way different from the traction that you get on, let's say, these straights or into the other corners of this track. So it was a little bit of a learning curve here, but as you can see, like, we're all just trying to get used to it, stay on the, wider lines of every single, part of this track. As you can see, P1 and P2 are just fighting it out, and I'm kind of like in my own zone here, just, trying to be careful and not lose position, because this would be great for finals points for me. But it was an incredible race, nonetheless. I mean, I think the biggest struggle was that little hairpin, and there was a couple times where I would overshoot it or I would take the racing line, and I panicked a little, and you can see that the people behind me start catching up and I start, getting a little weary. So what I kept doing, and I try to keep fixing, is just sending it fully into this corner without sending it to the left and holding the outside line. But then I kind of shoot it into the inside, and it's a little bit more aggressive than what you should be, especially in these conditions, but I found that it worked. But as you can tell, like, not only am I learning, other people are learning as well, right? And they're getting also progressively better at it. So from my understanding of this race, there wasn't much movement in terms of position. So whether you're in the front of the field or the back of the field, I don't think there was much movement. What I found was, in this race in particular, we were all pretty composed. We had just finished watching race number 4, I believe, and it was complete carnage. People were crashing left, right, and center by themselves with other people, and they were just shooting it like it was regular racing lines, and like there was no rain on track. And just watching it was just so chaotic from the sidelines, and I wish I had recorded it, but I don't typically record while I'm in the pits. It's just really out on track to stave on some storage. So it was interesting to see if we were going to experience some of that today. So me, obviously being a hopeful, I'm hoping maybe 1 and 2 might get into some scruffles and completely spin each other out. At this point in time, I'm just trying my best to hold position and not slip or lose the rear at all here. I can actually start to feel the presence of P4 coming behind me, so I'm making sure that I'm trying not to lose too much speed and be a little bit more aggressive on braking. And you can kind of see that where I'm going a little later on the brakes, right, as I turn in here. I'm being really cautious in this corner. I think this one's a really deceiving one, and this one can really screw you up when, people are behind you. Now, this is the area where I start to feel the presence of P4 even more. So what I do is I did the mistake. I dive bombed in, and that really backed me up. As you can see here, I locked my wheels completely, see P4 behind me, and because of that lockup, P4 reacted in such a way that he held up the people behind him, right? And the people behind him got even closer to him. So because of that, I actually built an even bigger gap, because the people behind P4 were able to react a little bit better from P4 reacting to my braking or my lockup there. So Because of that, I was actually able to build up quite a big gap here, and you can see I lost a little bit of the rear, and you can see me going really slow into that hairpin corner that I'm not so great at going the regular way, but backwards I think I'm reasonable at. But at this point in time, I think there isn't much more anyone can really do in these last couple of corners here. As I come through the final corner of the year, I see the checkered flags in the distance, and I know P3 is mine. I do want to say thank you for an incredible season. Thank you for watching my videos, and if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. I will be back at Goodwood next year, so if you are coming back or if you're racing at Goodwood, please let me know. I'd love to talk shop.